Hey, welcome back to the Broker's Voice. I am excited to be joined by Rachel Fox with the Sunny Day Fund. And if you just heard what I said and said Sunny Day Fund, I'm not quite sure what that is. You're going to learn a lot about it today and how it applies to today's environment when it comes to mental stress, primarily mental stress from financial stress. Right, Rachel?
Yep,
So
correct.
welcome aboard, Rachel. Welcome to the Broker's Voice.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. No. Obviously, you and I know each other. You're in A League of Their Own community, which we're
I am.
very grateful for your participation. But I wanted to have you on the Broker's Voice for a couple of reasons. Number one, you got a cool backstory that a lot of people don't know about you.
Yeah.
But two, I don't think enough people in the industry quite know about Sunny Day Fund yet. And so I would love to get into discussion about that because, again, when it comes to meeting employees where they're at today, I think we could agree what you guys are doing is very top of mind.
Yeah, people are talking about money just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit. There's this thing we've been talking about called recession,
Yeah,
that I think
inflation.
is top of mind with a lot of people right now. So let's start before we get there, though.
Okay.
We're going to talk about something a lot of people may not know about Rachel Fox. You went to school to study bugs.
I did.
Let's
I
talk about
did.
that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just always root for the underdog or something, but I've always really loved insects. I have two older brothers and I was raised to not be a squeamish kid. And I just always kind of found it fascinating. I think that there are times in life when you have a really great teacher and it just opens doors for you. I had a really great 10th grade biology teacher in high school. And I was like, wow, this is a thing. People like study this. You're like, there's names for this is crazy. So I was super excited about it. We had to do our insect collection and we learned all about just kind of the taxonomical IDs between that. And I was fascinated when you look at it under the microscope, just how they were designed, like everything with a purpose. I just think just the intricacies of our world are so amazing, and sometimes we fail to pay attention to that. And so I kind of loved combining that with my love of art. I always was a drawer most of the time. I didn't paint so much. My mom was my art teacher, so she was constantly prancing around going, you need to do something with that. You need to, push yourself. And insects are all around. They were always great, not quite still lives, but they were always around. And I was super intrigued by them. And it became an inspiration. They were always my muse on the artwork side.
For those listening in, we talk about the riches are in the niches.
Yeah,
I would have to say bug art is definitely a niche.
it is, man. It is, but it's pretty cool. I post some of my stuff on LinkedIn every once in a while and I get weird reactions, but that's okay. I dig it.
Now, you went to school in Australia, right?
I did.
In college in Australia. What was that like going studying abroad, especially somewhere halfway around the world?
Yeah. So I had started off in Virginia, and then I kind of started. I went with my roommate over to Australia because number one, we were biology majors, and I knew that I really wanted to go into entomology. That's what I wanted to do. That's how we always start.
For those of for us ignoramuses, define epidemiology for us.
Well, entomology is the
Or
study of
entomology, excuse
yes,
me.
and entomology is the study of insects.
Awesome.
So,
Okay.
6 legs, not 8. I don't really dig on spiders, but I really love insects, and I went to school in Australia because they have an undergrad program for entomology, so I could really immerse myself in it. In America, it was a lot more of kind of a master's level focus. And so I did take a lot of other biology classes there. I took anatomy there and botany and some other things that I was really excited about. But for me, that was like, and I got to play, rugby over there. I got to play field hockey year round over there. So there were lots of other cool reasons I wanted to
Oh,
go.
nice.
But it all tied into just the perfect.
What was your actual I was curious, like, going over there to study insects and stuff, what was your goal with it? What was the end game at that time?
I mean, at that time, I wasn't super in love with the college that I was at in Virginia. My parents were already paying for out of state tuition anyway, so they were like, it's kind of comparable. It doesn't really matter. My dad had enough frequent flyer miles that he was like, it doesn't really matter, whatever you want to do. And I was like, I really like this bug thing. And they play rugby and field hockey year round. Like, I feel like it's calling me. I can go live in Surfers Paradise, Australia. Like, why would I not want to do that? Watch Kelly Slater surfing competitions from my balcony. Like, sign me up.
So yeah, hey, that's how if you're telling me you were that college kid, were you on the Gold Coast? Like, if you're
Yes.
celebrating, oh, man, yeah,
Yes. I
okay,
lived on the
enough
Gold
said. Yeah,
Coast
you don't
on
have to
First
say anything
Avenue in the
more.
Gold Coast, right by Broad Beach. It was amazing.
Yeah, wow, rough life.
I know,
So, I have
rough
one
life.
more question about that you brought something you said I'd love to ask. You said your mother was your art teacher.
Yes.
Was she in the same school with you?
In high school, she was I went to a small Christian school for 6th through 12th grade, and she was the art teacher at that high school.
What was it like having mom in high school?
I mean, she knew everybody and she heard about everything, so there wasn't much I could do that somebody was gonna rat me out. Um, so in that way, it was kind of nice, but she also knew all of my friends. Everybody really loved her, and she was one of those really challenging teachers. She has this amazing vocabulary. If you act up in your class, she's not just gonna yell at you, she's gonna say something super smart that you might not get, but all of a sudden you realize everybody else is laughing at you. So it's this constant pursuit of paying attention, making yourself better, not sleeping on your talents.
I ask because I had both my parents in high school.
Really?
Yeah, my mom was a science teacher, my dad was a history teacher, and the rule in our district was if there were other teachers available in that course, you could not take your parents.
Yep.
But my senior year, my dad was the only teacher for current events, and so I could have him. And it was funny because I had him right after lunch,
Yeah.
and it was not uncommon to fall asleep because of lunch. And so there were plenty of nights when my dad's like, "Really, what did you learn today? I noticed you kind of snoozed off in the back." So it was interesting to have parents in high school. One, it was great if you needed $5,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you were definitely under the microscope as well. Now, before we get into the industry stuff, the insurance stuff, I do want to ask you as a bug lover, if you could only pick one bug right now, what's your bug?
So in our house, we have an especially favorite love for these eastern red paper wasps. So we have like they always come and build a nest under our deck right by our pool every year, and it's really cool. To watch my kids kind of pick up these half drowned insects from the pool, put them on the end of a broomstick, feed them up to the eastern red paper wasp nest, and just see the workers just kind of like take them, stuff them into a cell, close it up. Like it's super great. So my kids are not squeamish about
I was
insects.
gonna say, one, they're not afraid because you hear
No,
wasp, you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna get stung. But
no.
two, they're actually taking the wasp and putting it back with the community.
Yeah, these are really nice wasps. They get a bad rap from yellow jackets who are kind
Well,
of
ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening in and you need a one-on-one on what bees and wasps to trust and which ones not to trust, you've got your woman now.
hey, send me the pics. I get pics every week of somebody going, "What is this? Is it gonna kill me?" And I'm like, "No, you're fine."
I'm a spider one. Like I will get spiders in our house, especially in the Colorado Rockies region, where you're like,
Yeah,
is that a good or is that bad? Could that really be bad? And I never know. So
yeah. Spiders I'm
um,
not as well versed with, but
let's
I
talk
still
about,
get about
okay,
spiders.
how in the world does a bug lady end
Yeah.
up in insurance?
Yeah, because we all grow up wanting to go and sell insurance, right? Like that's a childhood dream that we foster. So yeah, I graduated with my biology degree, and I was doing some environmental consulting. My brother had started this company called Angler Environmental in Northern Virginia, and after I graduated, he was like, "Hey, I need somebody to come and delineate wetlands for me." I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to do that." He's like, "Well, I mean, you know, like botany stuff, right?" I'm like, "I mean, I took botany in Australia. There's no eucalyptus trees here, Don. I don't know any of this stuff." And he's like, you can speciate it out, right? Like, you have a like, let's get going." And I thought, well, sure, like let's go. So I learned a lot there about delineating wetlands and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and how that it's laid with development plans and protecting the jurisdictional waters of the U.S. So I really loved doing that, but ultimately, I kind of felt like I was always going to be the boss's little sister. And there was just lots that went along with that where I just felt I'm ready to do something on my own. And so I just went to a random career fair one day. And as insurance people do, we tend to have these personalities and we're magnetic and you sit down and talk. And all of a sudden I walk away from this meeting and I'm like, I was born to sell insurance. What have I been wasting my life on? This is amazing. And then I just found some other people that, I started with Aflac. So that's when I got my insurance license in 2002. And I did that for well over a decade. I went on to become a district sales manager. Eric Silverman was my regional sales manager, and he kind of taught me everything he knows. And I lucked out at that because, I definitely did not light the world on fire right at the beginning. So it was great to have some other people say, hey, if you're not really like, if this part isn't your jam, you can still be valuable here. You can still contribute. Like, we're not cloning people. Like, we're just trying to find a way to find what you're really good at and do something else. So with Eric and I, we really excelled on the recruiting side of things. And that really helped me to just get to know the industry a lot, have some really great connections, and watch successful people and try to emulate that.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look at a common trait between a lot of the folks in the industry that where you can definitely see a passion in what they do,
Yeah.
they probably had a mentor at some point. For an industry, let's be honest, it's known for feeling like you're out on an island. There's not a ton of training. There's not a ton of support in many
Yep.
ways. Having a good mentor is something that can definitely give you a whole new appreciation and passion for what you do. And Eric is definitely somebody we all know who has recruited and mentored a lot of people.
He has, and for me, it was, appealing because I knew that, like, at this same time when I started with Aflac, I was kind of engaged and planning my wedding, and I knew that when I had kids, I wanted to be able to stay at home with them for a little bit once I got them, and I was so financially independent, like, the thought of kind of merging bank accounts with my husband was a little terrifying, and so I really just wanted to find something. I loved the idea of this residual and renewal income. Like, I just thought it was smart. It was something I didn't realize about the insurance industry. And I said, well, man, I can just really plant some seeds right now that will continue to pay me after I, become like put my career on pause for a little bit to become a stay-at-home mom. And then I can always just pick it right back up. And it, we ended up being in IVF land for a decade. So I was with Aflac for a long time and sowed a lot of those seeds. And so when I finally did have my kids, I really had a nice income that supported me through that time where I wanted to be at home with them for a little bit.
Well, and I just pulled up your LinkedIn profile. It looks, I mean, you were with Aflac for 19 years, 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
So a
because as a
long, long time.
1099, you can work as often or as little as you
Yeah.
like, and so there was a lot of flexibility there after I had my kids where I could help people out on enrollments here or there and stay in contact with my book of business and still be valuable in certain ways, but I wasn't going at the same speed that, Eric had trained me to go at, that was for sure.
Yeah. And so, you look at where you are today now, you're the director
Yeah,
of business development at Sunny Day Fund, which I think is a play on words from Rainy Day Fund.
correct.
Let's talk about that. Today you're leading sales there at Sunny Day Fund. Let's just get with the basics. If I'm a advisor listening in and I've never even heard of Sunny Day Fund, what do you guys do?
So, in a nutshell, it's workplace emergency savings. So, there's this new market coming in. It's called ESAs, right? Emergency savings accounts. And I really feel like we are kind of where HSAs were 20 years ago, where the IRS makes a little tweak to the law and, like, bam, $1 trillion market opens up. So, the government's starting to, they just passed with the Secure Act 2.0 that Biden signed around Christmas time. It was really something. This is our first piece of federal legislation around workplace emergency savings. I think the pandemic showed people like, man, we don't have a whole lot to fall back on here. And so the government starts handing money out to people. But pensions don't really exist anymore, and Social Security is not going to be there for a few more generations. We have to get people to embrace saving. And the way to do that en masse is through employers. So we see with retirement accounts, if people aren't saving through their paycheck, they're likely not saving. And so I think that emergency savings and retirement savings are really two sides of the same coin. Emergency savings protects those retirement savings from being tapped. So if we have companies that have a lot of 401k loans and hardship withdrawals, this is obviously a solution we can use to mitigate that. If your employees are treating your 401k as an emergency savings account, it might be time to have an emergency savings account. So the Secure Act 2.0 has made some really awesome creative options for employers to change the way employees are saving and how employees can access that. But it's not mandating that, it's just enabling that, which means it's creating a competitive lane, right, for employers, proactive employers who really want to stay ahead of the curve, and do something to be an employer of choice and to differentiate themselves. So that's who we're talking with. Really, a lot of employers who have said, I really want to create something new, and I see that the market is headed this way. I see that emergency savings accounts are going to be as popular as 401ks someday, and I want to get ahead of the trend.
And if you don't mind going a little granular for a second, when you talk about the recently passed bill that Biden pushed through, what did it open the door for? Like, what did it do to open the door for these ESAs, these emergency savings accounts?
Yeah, and it didn't, honestly, it didn't quite have the meat that we were hoping for on the emergency savings part. So we've been working with lawmakers to try to craft some of these initiatives. And because they threw it in with the omnibus, we didn't really get everything that we were hoping for, but it was the start of something great. And again, we're already working with legislatures now to draft what future bills are going to be. There should be another one coming this year that has a little bit more in there. But basically, the Secure Act 2.0 that was passed has a lot around in-plan emergency savings accounts. So there's two broad options with emergency savings accounts. There's either in-plan, which means it's subject to ERISA, or it's out of plan, which means it's outside of ERISA, and there's no Form 5500 to file, and it's completely separate from the retirement account. And that's where Sunny Day Fund stands. We want to be distinct and separate. We don't really want to conflate the monies between emergency savings and retirement savings. But for those retirement savings bookkeepers, there's options in there to make their retirement savings more accessible in cases of emergencies. And that's what a lot of the Secure Act 2.0 is about.
So you are an out of plan option.
Out of plan option.
And so talk to me about this. It's interesting because financial stress is something that's very prevalent these days, right? And I've always said this. If somebody's dealing with stress, it's usually what leads to the bad behaviors, and the bad behaviors is what leads to bad health. And now that's why we have healthcare cost problems.
Yep.
But that stress typically, let's be honest, comes from some form of financial stress.
Yeah.
And so when I look at like health savings accounts that came about 20, 25 years ago, and the whole concept was you're going to have an opportunity to put money away for your emergency healthcare needs. Well, guess what? Employees can't afford to put money away. So therefore they're not putting any away.
Mm-hmm.
We have hardship withdrawals from 401ks. Where does Sunny Day Fund come in? Like if I'm an employee, like what does that look like for me as far as setting aside money for that emergency? How do I do it? How would I set something up like that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And from a conceptual standpoint, the HSA is there for a reason, the 401k is there for a reason. But if you look at who's participating in those the most and who has the highest balances there, it's typically not the frontline workers. And those are the ones that are struggling the most with access and resources. Some of them have been historically underserved by the banking industry. And so I think it's time for employers to kind of stop outsourcing financial resources and putting the onus on the employee. Again, we know, to your point, that there's this link between financial stress and mental health. So from a total reward standpoint, we really want to come at this on a more holistic level and know that financial wellness is a part of overall employee wellness. And for many employees, if they can't afford the fix to a broken car, that means they're not coming to work, right? There's a lot of ways that the tentacles are all intertwined here. But if you ask employees what they're most stressed about, it's going to be something to do with money. And we know that they're tapping the 401ks because of their financial situation. And again, just trying to outsource this and tell employees, oh, well, you should just go do a split direct deposit or you should start saving. Again, if they were going to do that, they would have already done that by now, right? So use this opportunity. Like this is your horse, employer, right? Like get your armor on. Be a hero. Deliver the solution. You don't want to outsource this, right? So again, from a DEI standpoint, I think it's important as well because you can't tell everybody just to go do it on themselves, on their own. Not everybody can take 3 to 5 years of tax returns and pass the background and credit check and show up at the bank with your $500 minimum that you already saved up, right? All for your 0.02% dismal savings account balance that doesn't motivate anybody. So I think if we can tear down some of those financial barriers and just give access to employees, just because you work here, you have this as a benefit, right? We don't really need a whole lot more from you. It's a huge retention and attraction bonus for the employer. For the employee, the ease of payroll deduction makes it so much easier for them. Instead of asking them to peel some dollars out of their fist after they've already been paid and put it in this cookie jar they're going to pretend to not touch and it accrues no interest, right? Instead, let's do it through the employer. We have an employer subsidized interest rate so that instead of a typical match, because again, this is a liquid asset, it's kind of tempting for employees to just be like, oh, I've got $500 saved up. I'm going to go buy some shoes. If they're getting their employer reward based on how much they keep in the account, it holds them more true to their savings intent.
So 2 more questions. I love this. So number 1, I heard it could be both payroll deducted and employer matched.
Yes.
2,
yep.
Are there guardrails now that I've got this ESA, guardrails around what I can use the money for?
Great question. So yeah, so employer matched, right? So payroll deducted and employer rewarded, just the same avenue we used for retirement savings. We're taking that same formula and applying it to emergency savings because we know that works and it's motivating. It's a lot easier to do through payroll deduction. And then on the second part of that, we want it to be a liquid benefit, right? We want it to be an unqualified benefit. The whole goal here is to try to bring more financial independence financial dignity, financial freedom back to employees. And that means they need to be an active user in this, and they need to assign intent with their money and start thinking of what they want to do with it. As our name implies, we don't think that saving should just be about the doom and gloom of a rainy day, right? I think that there's a lot more sunny days in life to plan for than rainy days, and they take money too. So this is for anything in life that requires money before you retire. So we are going to have employees certainly save up. It's just an app that we're going to use, so it's really user friendly and intuitive for them. And there'll be a goal in there for an emergency fund. But there's also multiple goals that they can set up within that same account so that with each paycheck, that money gets peppered across those goals. And they might want to be saving up for a security deposit to get their own place. They might want to save up for a vacation with their family. They might want to save up for Christmas presents for the kids. Some things that they might have thought were unattainable in their life, that this is never going to happen to me. That's never going to be my life. Well, if we don't have a plan on how to get there, it's like unlikely to fall in your lap. But if we can come up with something where each week, you're putting $10 into this vacation fund, and then your employer is going to help you by rewarding this new savings behavior. Each paycheck, you can go onto your app and see that progress bar moving and know with certainty, man, this is going to happen. And it brings joy to people's lives to know that they can bring positive things. And it's not all just the fear and doom and gloom of savings.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I mean, you talk about a timely benefit, right? It's something, especially as we're in a recession, you got employees dealing with a lot of financial stress, heck, let alone layoffs. Having an opportunity to have money set aside for not only things you desperately need, but things you look forward to, I think is such a hence the name Sunny Day Fund.
Right. And we definitely try to put some guardrails on there to hold people true to their savings intent. So you don't really need a whole lot of financial literacy to be able to do that, right? I think financial literacy is wonderful, and we've certainly got a component of that in our program. But I think there has to be a careful line walk there where it's not just like, "Oh, if only you knew better, like
Yeah.
you'd be better." Like we really want to help people embrace their own decision making and give them goals for what they want to save their money up for. And as they're making a withdrawal, question them and be like, "Was this what you wanted to do with this money? Like you had this as an emergency fund. You're going to do it with like you're going to use it on car repairs. That's fabulous." Or wait, are you gonna buy shoes with it? Are you buying a jacket? What are you doing with that? This is your emergency fund. If you want to buy shoes or buy a jacket or go on vacation, create a goal for that so
Mhm.
that you can accomplish that and then withdraw that money once that goal is accomplished. Again, we're trying to establish intent with that money. And as they make that withdrawal, there is no qualifications on it. There's no boxes to check. They can take it out for whatever they want. It's post-tax dollars, free and clear. But we are going to ask them again, are you sure this is what your intent was? As well as you're going to lose a little bit of money if you take this money out now because you're going to reduce your employer reward that's headed your way.
I'm gonna put your email up here,
Thank
so if people are watching, they can get a hold of you. Last question for the sake of not being too vague, saying, "Well, every employer should have this."
you.
If there is a broker listening in or an employer, paint the picture of the ideal company for this. Like what organization would be the right fit to offer a program like this right now?
So what we're really focusing on in our outreach, first of all, to talk about employer size, we're looking for roughly 300 employees to 5,000 employees. That's been something that they're motivated to take these new initiatives, but they're small enough to be able to move quickly on some things. We're also looking for a pretty decent portion of their population to be low to moderate income workers. So we're really looking for those hourly workers that are making, 15, $18 an hour. Those are the people that are struggling the most out there and would appreciate a new resource to come in. Again, if we want next year to be different for them than this year is, then we're going to have to do something different. And I don't think that a lot of the debt solutions that are out there are really benefiting the employee or creating any long term financial stability. We've got credit cards, we've got loans, we've got earned wage access, we've got a lot of things to kind of kick the can down the road. But if we're actually trying to hand out fishing poles, in addition to some fish, this is a really great way to bring people back into the conversation on an individual basis and say, what are your dreams? What do you want to accomplish in life? What's missing from your life that you really wish you had? Let's figure out how you can get there because any budget, if we're smart about it, we can do some amazing things with it. But I think a lot of times they just haven't always been given those opportunities.
100%. I agree. I agree. No, this was great, Rachel. I appreciate you taking the time because, again, I was just having a coaching call with one of our clients and talking about benefits that employees actually want, not what you think you need to give them. I think is something that is very prevalent in today's world, especially as the type of employee is shifting. They're getting younger. They want more flexibility. They want different types of benefits. It's so important that you as an organization offer something that is timely and
Yeah.
current.
Yeah, those
So
younger employees are really looking to employers for more guidance, for more resources. They're leaning on them more, and the
100%.
liquidity is really important to them.
100%. So, other than the email I've got up here, is there any other way a broker or an organization could reach out to you to learn more and jump on a call to see how they could leverage Sunny Day Fund?
Yep. So certainly you guys might have seen me on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on there. And then also our website has lots of really great resources from employers on our blogs posting. We're really intentional about making those blogs very relevant to people and look at them as a resource, especially around the Secure Act 2.0. There's been lots of really great summaries on there because nobody wants to read through all those pages. I don't blame you. So take our Cliff Notes and use it for your company. It's great.
Awesome. Well, Rachel, I want to thank you for taking the time today. This was great. If you're listening in and you're looking for a differentiator in the market, a better benefit for your clients, this is one that's very timely. Financial stress is impacting so many today. And most people, believe it or not, are one lost paycheck away or one bad insurance claim away from bankruptcy, from very, very dark financial times. So Sunny Day Fund, Rachel, is something that's much needed in today's environment. So one more time, thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And if anybody else, if you're listening in, you got questions, reach out to Rachel so you can learn more about Sunny Day Fund. Take care.